is Gary Colquhoun, and people have been asking me why I am so upset about the salmon farm that's proposed for Chebogue Point. Well, I've spent a lot of time in Chebogue Point and in the Chebogue River, and I can tell you that it's a very, very pristine piece of ocean. Now, what they're proposing to do is, firstly, the first contact that the salmon farm has with our ocean is they're going to draw 3,000 gallons every second from 15 feet of water 100 feet offshore. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to suck in all the small larvae and eggs and perhaps small lobsters into their water supply, their saltwater water supply. The next thing that happens to this water is it gets sterilized. So anything that's in there, and think about it, 3,000 gallons every second, 24 hours a day is going to be drawn in. And those small organisms that are floating back and forth, and some of them will float back and forth for 10, 15 days. Now, I don't know if you're from here, you realize that our water flows in two directions. The tide comes and the tide goes. Those organisms will be passing back and forth in front of this huge suction for days, some of them. So we're going to lose a lot of clams, maybe, lobsters, bloodworms, periwinkles, whatever happens to be in our water in an immature state. Their intakes are going to take in anything under 1 inch. They're using a 1-inch mesh on a 60-inch diameter pipe to draw water in. Now, they don't even talk about that. They only talk about the outflow. And the outflow, by the way, is the same amount of water, and 70% of it is not even filtered. It's only screened for fish. The other 30% of it is sent through a particulate filter. I think it's a 150 micron filter, and this will remove most of the solids from that final 30%. But there's no treatment for the chemical footprint that it might put into our ocean. They talk about capturing the carbon and the carbon and a couple other chemicals in the solids. But these are also dissolved chemicals. So there'll be dissolved chemicals in this water. There'll be a chemical flume that comes from this plant that goes up and down our ocean. And for me personally, the risk that might be involved there is just not worth it. These people are studying how healthy their salmon will be. I don't think they're really concerned about how healthy our industry is going to be. Because, let's face it, we're competitors, right? So, the other aspect of that really bothers me is that in the proposal, they're proposing that boreal salmon be the ones that monitor the impact on our environment. Now, think about that. They're going to monitor the impact on our environment, and when they discover something that costs, say, $5 million to correct, are we going to find out about it immediately? Or are they going to say, well, I don't know if we can afford this one? I don't know how it'll happen. We'll have to guess at that, I guess. So there's another one, right? They're going to monitor the environmental effect. I don't think they're really qualified to monitor whether or not they've screwed up our environment. And, the other thing is, they're talking about jobs. Well, we've got an automated plant that they're proposing. An automated plant that has computerized valves that are going to maintain the water level, maintain the chemical integrity of the water so that it suits salmon, perhaps add some antibiotics when they need it. That's not going to produce a lot of jobs. The only thing it's going to produce is a lot of extra garbage in our ocean. These salmon are going to eat, I think it's 4,500 tons of feed a year. The chemical content in that feed, and if there are anything like your growth hormones, or I hear that they use a special feed to color salmon. I mean, that's all going right direct into our ocean. And, they can talk about it being dispersed all they like. Again, our tide goes in two directions. So if it's outflowing from that farm when the tide's coming in, guess what? It's coming up Yarmouth Harbor, whether you like it or not, right? So that's my kind of side of things, and that's why I think we have to say no. I think we have to say no, and I think we have to say it very strongly, because we have too much to risk. Our fishing industry here is probably worth very close to $1 billion. And if we continue to nurture it, it certainly will be worth $1 billion. But if we risk it and we lose big. And, we can be the losers while they're the winners. They could have a very successful salmon farm or salmon farms, because let's face it, once we open it up, we're not talking about one farm. We're talking about multiple farms. So even though the salmon industry could be very successful and it could make lots of money for, some Chileans and perhaps some people who are investing in it on the stock market, it's not going to make a lot of money for the clam diggers. It's not going to make a lot of money for the lobster fishermen. And it's not going to make a lot of money for the wormers or the periwinklers or the people that are harvesting seaweeds. It's only going to make a lot of money for a bunch of people that are using us for our resources. And we, as Canadians, have a history of giving our resources away. Well, this is one resource that I don't think we should give away at all. It's too valuable, it's ours, and people stand up and speak your piece. Don't be quiet about this, because if you're quiet about it, it's just going to happen. Thank you.